Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Game On Hai. Today we shall be discussing two important matches. One is quite significant, that Bangladesh and England, they play for the first time in the history of T20 internationals. And it will be an inaugural game of cricket, of course, the first for both the teams in this ongoing competition. And then Scotland taking on Namibia should be a close game. Probably Scotland, their growth was interrupted within this tournament when they fell for only 60 against Afghanistan. So we need to discuss loads. We have with us the left-handed genius of his times, David Gower. Good to see you, sir.
Very good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
And we have the only one ever, who ever ordained the cricket field. None has come before him, none shall come after. Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards. Good to see you, sir. It's always a pleasure that you are present here on PTV Sports. Thank you, sir. And we have our friend now turning into like an Englishman, and he always tries to impress me with his vocabulary, and that's Aqib Javed, the former Pakistan fast bowler. Aqib, how are you? Good to see you.
How are you, sir?
You're actually trying to distance yourself a bit.
I'm moving.
Moving out of And we have the former Pakistan women captain, the pride of Pakistan, Sana Mir. Good to have you here in the studios, Sana.
Thank you, Doctor.
So, David, let's start with your favorite team, Bangladesh or England?
Well, as a neutral admirer of the world of cricket, interesting game actually, because the history, and I know history is important in our game, is they haven't, as you say, met in a T20 international, but they have met twice in ODIs.
Yeah.
And the record so far favours Bangladesh.
Yeah.
One was in Bangladesh, one was in Australia.
Yeah.
Owen Morgan, as captain of England, was present for both. So we've talked a little bit about incentives, what drives people to do well. And for Owen Morgan, as captain of England today, this is a big chance to say, right, those two games happened a long time ago, they are part of history, and of course England are one of the favourite teams in this tournament, so they want to just make sure they get the right result out of this. Now, the interesting things will be the sort of the challenges posed by some of the Bangladesh bowling to some of the vaunted English batsmen. Spin will be obviously part of this. So tactics both from Bangladesh with the ball, England maybe with their batting order. It'll be interesting to see what adjustments are made to counter the possible threats. Because obviously on paper, you would say England are the stronger side. England are very much favourites to win this game. But Bangladesh at home in UAE, they become a possible threat to anyone, even though they lost the other day to a very successful Sri Lanka team. Yeah.
But David, another thing, like Owen Morgan, obviously he's one of the finest captains in white ball cricket, and he'll be pitted against Mahmudullah, who seemed slightly out of sorts, not in terms of the tactical part, but even his strategy to employ himself and Afif Hussain when those young left-handed batsmen were like at the crease. So don't you think that it will also be a grueling competition between the two, because Morgan is a seasoned campaigner?
Yeah, I'm not going to say grueling, but I mean, what I would say is this: and the point made the other day is that captains can only work with the resources at their disposal. So the job is obviously harder for Mahmudullah, because on paper, the world rankings of each player, both of the two teams, suggest that he has to get more out of his players. What Owen Morgan needs to do is make sure he gets the best from his. If Owen Morgan gets the best from the England team and the key players, then England will win. That's just the mathematics of it. But this game is not just about mathematics. Yes, you look at a scorecard, the numbers are plain. You get more runs than the opposition, you win the game. But it's an interesting battle. But I think Mahmudullah needs a bit of luck as well. He doesn't have the reputation that Morgan has as a captain. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Morgan is one of the best, if not the best, international captain in the short form of the game. And I take my hat off to him every time I see what he does on the field because of that. But he just wants, for instance, he wants, say, Joss Buttler, who's in great form at the moment, to carry on that form today, because he's one of the people most likely to play the shots that will deal with the spin.
But David, you have to be thankful to Ireland that they exported such a genius to England.
We've never been averse to taking resources from where we can find them.
So we will enjoy. So, sir, I think 80% of the English team, it's based on non-English.
80?
Right.
huge numbers.
Show me the proof. Show me the proof.
This look well. 80%, as you say, well, it sounds like the rest of the world team to me.
Okay, rest of the world.
Rest of the world.
Right. David.
I was going to carry on. I was going to do some research. Birthplaces.
The last game which England played, there were only 3 Englishmen.
3 Englishmen?
Yeah. Out of 11.
Out of 11. So, David, now this is like, sir,
Hang
8
on a
out of
second.
11.
While David do his research,
The playing
what's
11 I'm
what-
talking about.
My question is, like now getting on to Bangladesh, yes, they went down to Scotland in the qualifiers, but they have the resources like Mushfiqur Rahim, who got to his first half century in T20 international career, 29 match career. And then we saw some fine batting from Naeem Sheikh up the order, 2 half centuries in 3 matches. They have Shakib Al Hassan, and they have Mehdi Hassan Miras, the man, a quality spinner, and probably Taskin Ahmed will also be returning to the team for today's match. He's an express fast bowler, more than 145, he can deliver. So you think that Bangladesh have the resources to surprise David Gar and England at Abu Dhabi today?
or in Morgan.
Yeah.
David, you're in the boat here, aren't you?
I'm flying to Abu Dhabi as soon as we finish this out.
But as David said earlier, apparently England on paper looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But you're playing in this part of the world with conditions suitable to the Bangladeshis, which they would enjoy in their homeland. And it should be an even match for me because of the conditions that I believe they'll be playing in. But you never ever count anyone out. I'm an individual that, regardless of what you have on paper,
Yeah.
I think Bangladesh will be looking to come hard at England. Why? They will have lost their first match, a very close encounter of such. And they'll be looking to bounce back. And I think this is a great opportunity for Bangladesh to do that. And not because England looks strong or huge on paper, but for them to believe in themselves and believe that the conditions that they'll be playing in would be quite suitable to them, so to be able to take advantage of with the spinners that obviously Bangladesh have.
Okay, sir, if we actually focus on England, Ben Stokes now will be joining the England team for the Ashes, but he is unavailable, and also so is Jofra Archer, probably 2 of the best players in all formats for England at the moment. And without these 2 players, do you think that England in UAE, I'm not talking about anywhere else in the world, they can go, like David said, they are the favorites, of course, but do you think that they can just move ahead uninterrupted and they just can just be very smooth sail, and they just can be calm and just produce results?
Nothing can be quite smooth of such. What I think, everyone's got to go out and play. And I'm of the firm belief every time, regardless of whoever you play against and whether you believe that they are strong enough, you've got to have belief. And I believe that the Bangladeshis, regardless of whatever England and the power and the stuff that they may have, they're missing Jeffrey Archer, they're missing Ben Stokes, but I still believe England is a solid enough team. There are enough professional players in that team, experienced enough to get the job done. But I think Bangladesh may have a say in that.
Had Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer been there in Emirates, it would have been 10 out of 11 than the non-English players.
Well, you can ask David about that one.
You cannot get away with it. There's no way you can get away with this. Ben Stokes, I mean, okay, you can talk about heritage.
Yeah.
Right, Ben Stokes' father from lived in New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
Born in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That does not necessarily make him a New Zealander.
No, but he is a New Zealander, Ben Stokes. He was awarded the major sports award.
That is in the same way as French actors can be called Russian.
Okay, so thank you very much.
It's a complete sham.
Okay.
It's okay. It's a nice thing to recognise. It's a very nice thing for New Zealand to recognise something very special,
Yeah.
and to recognise the heritage. But if you ask Ben Stokes, if he had a tattoo on his left shoulder, would it be the full Union Jack, or would it be the New Zealand flag with a little Union Jack in the corner? You know, these players, I mean, just to answer Aki's point, he said there's 3 of them. 3 of them in the playing 11. Yeah. Okay, let's just go through it. Let's have a little look at
sir, the research is there.
Yeah. I'll tell you something. Let me see. I want to see what David comes up with.
All right, England. Right, Jason Roy, born in South Africa.
Born in South Africa,
Okay.
yeah.
Granted. Joss Butler?
Yeah.
Are we questioning the fact that he's English? No, that's 1.
Yeah.
Johnny Bairstow?
2.
2.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from Yorkshire, which of course is God's own country, if you ask a Yorkshireman. I mean, they'd like it to be a separate country, but actually it is still part of England. Moeen Ali, whose heritage is from
Pakistan.
this part of the world, but
2.
very English in many other ways.
Yeah.
So 2. Livingston, Lancashire.
Yeah.
3.
Is he purely an Englishman? Liam Livingston?
I haven't got his DNA results. I'm going to claim.
Okay.
Doctor,
Okay, so
you-
2.
if-
So 2.
maybe you can organise the test. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this- Morgan, okay, Ireland.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
get half a point. That's very close.
very
It's a
close.
little bit of water between.
Little, okay.
Milan, South Africa. Wokes, another one.
3.
That's 4.
Four.
Four.
Come on,
Four.
you've got to keep counting.
No, no,
Four.
okay.
Jordan
No.
speaks like an Englishman, but comes from
Fire,
heritage.
Barbados.
Rashid
Barbados.
was English once. Rashid, another Yorkshireman,
From this part.
and Mills, well, okay, as a
Sorry, sir.
Essex boy. So
I think
4.
no. I think
fine.
they're
Four,
3.
four.
You
Give me five, give me
you
five.
tried
No,
to
no,
include
no,
Morgan. You tried to.
No, I didn't.
No.
No, no, no.
He's
Without
right, he's
Morgan,
right.
it's 4.
Okay,
He's
you're
right.
right.
Folks.
You're right.
Okay,
So
so-
it would have been 8 out of 11.
Yeah.
Had
But can I speak on behalf of the multicultural society that is England?
Yeah.
That we welcome and embrace all these people who
Yes.
represent England, and they are proud. They are proud to do so. You know, they are not distracted by other things, and they will be fighting for England on the field today. And that's all you need to know.
well, David, am I allowed to ask a sensitive question?
Of course.
When South Africa, they were banned to play international cricket, and that was in 1969 after basically Oliver's incident, and they were just isolated, yet they were allowed to continue their careers in England in county cricket. Am I right? Mike Proctor, Gartley
Mike
Rua.
Proctor certainly played a major part for Gloucestershire for probably 15, 20 years, just certainly 15 years, yeah.
And then they had Gartley Rua, the fast
Gartley
bowler.
Rua.
Gartleroux played for
Gartleroux.
Sussex, but he was a little bit after.
Yeah.
I mean, yes,
Robin Jackman, who also
Well, no,
once captain Zimbabwe.
Okay, Robin
technically
Jackman
captain
was
Rhodesia.
Robin Jackman was the son of an English army colonel
All right.
who just happened to spend a lot of time in Zimbabwe. In the winters, he went to play in Zimbabwe, went to coach in Zimbabwe, and eventually moved down to South Africa.
Yeah.
So let's not confuse that issue.
And your friend Alan Lamb.
Lammy, born in Langemanweg, near Cape Town, the Western Cape.
Yeah.
So very much a South African-born player. I mean, it's interesting, but he came to England, did the qualification period, in the same way as Kepler Wessels went to Australia,
Yeah.
did the qualification period, ended up playing test matches for Australia, then went back and played test matches for South Africa. These are the rules that the ICC and the member nations of ICT accept as defining.
And nowadays,
But then
it's
why-
more easier. You have to only spend 3 years.
Kolpak.
No.
Well, the Kolpaks now.
If somebody playing in Pakistan domestic cricket, whatever, and if he wants to move to Ireland, only the period is 3
Qualification period is 3 years.
3 years.
And try and find out as well, too. I think there's something in between there where it says if you have a great grandfather or great great grandmother, somehow you can qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't you
So,
think,
but Doc, what's
no,
your,
but
what's
don't
your
you think
point?
we were contradicting the thing that John Emery and the other England players, they were banned once they toured South Africa with the
No,
rebel team.
I think there is a difference.
Graham Gooch was also part
Yeah, I
of
mean,
it.
the likes of Gooch, Embury, I mean, there was a squad of 14, 15 went on the first rebel tour in 1982, and they thought they could go because they were out of contract with their counties, out of contract with the governing body, what was then TCCB probably, I think, in those days, now the ECB.
Yeah.
They thought they're out of contract, they're in the clear. So they signed a contract, went. They had a misguided view that by going they could maybe help the situation, encourage sport in South Africa, encourage multinationalism, encourage multiculturalism, and all those things. That was misguided and naive. I give them that. And they thought they could come back and just slot in. But obviously it caused such a controversy that the English board felt they had no option and rightly said, okay, we'll give you a 2-year ban.
Yeah.
So they were punished for going to South Africa, but I don't think there's anything to stop a Mike Proctor coming to England. Was one of the great players of all time coming to England. It doesn't, that does not endorse the system in South Africa.
Oh, right.
I don't think. But
Okay.
others will
There was
probably
Eddie Barlow, and there were many.
Eddie Barlow played for Derbyshire. There was a fellow called Paddy Clift, who's
Jim
a great
Cook.
friend of mine, played for Leicestershire.
Jim Cook at Somerset.
Yeah,
Jim Cook went to
Somerset.
Somerset. I mean, there's a lot of players came, but and there is
They were
that
quality
issue.
cricketers.
Oh, they're
Good.
hugely. I mean, okay. If you want to talk about South African cricket,
Barry Richards?
Barry Richards played at Hampshire.
Yeah.
That's
not,
my
not
white
to be
brother.
confused with
That's my
very
white,
hard,
white brother.
very hard to tell them.
All
apart.
right.
But no, I mean, there are a lot of very good players came and earned a living, which they couldn't do in South
Peter
Africa.
Kirsten also played county cricket.
It's a long list. Peter Kirsten played for Derbyshire.
And
Yeah.
very good players.
Yeah.
Very good
good
player.
I mean, that South African side of the era of their exile, they'd just beaten Australia.
Yeah.
Bill Laurie's team with people
I
like Ian
think
Chaplin.
4-1 or 5-1.
they-
Oh, yeah, 4-1.
They destroyed them.
Yeah.
The great Graham Pollock,
Yeah.
people like that, Barry Richards, Peter Pollock, Dennis Lindsay, all these guys. I mean, they were an extraordinary team.
Colin Bland was also part of
And
it.
I mean, extraordinary team. But obviously, we in this current era, we understand fully that the regime they were playing under was not one that any part of the world could endorse. So
Correct.
hence the exile, hence the 25, 30 years of political and sporting exile. Hence now, this is obviously very, very tricky again. But hence now, the attitude taken by Cricket South Africa to the issue that came up yesterday and Black Lives Matter is very important to the country, very important to the cricket board to set an example.
I know we're on the subject here now. We're a little bit off key, but the West Indian players got banned for life.
Yeah.
And for some reason that was reversed. And one of the things I believe that was the positive sides coming out of them going to South Africa, they took a lot of licks for that. But at the end of the day, they took a black team to South Africa. The folks in South Africa never seen that team in itself lose or look like even losing because of the apartheid regime and the players that they had playing for them. For black kids to have seen people like themselves coming to their country, where in so many different areas they never had any rights, being able to demolish a white team, that to me was a positive in a very big way, because they've never seen these teams beaten.
Yeah.
And to be beaten by folks your color,
Yeah.
that to me was a message sent. And that could have helped a lot of young South Africans after, not just black, but white.
Yeah.
Because it gave each and every South African an opportunity, regardless of whatever your discipline in sport, for you to get an opportunity to go around the world and play, because there was this huge sanction against the country.
Yeah.
So in many ways, you may have some negatives, and also there's some little positive that could have come out of that trip.
This is quite deep, David.
It
and
is indeed. John. Anyway, back to the slow left arm spin. And
So we are going for the break, and I apologize to Akib and Sana that I didn't ask them the question in this chunk, because, it was a very intellectual discussion.
we apologize.
So we cannot be as intellectual.
Okay.
Anyways,
we'll see.
So what-
We'll see after the
No,
break.
no. Pun intended. So we take a break. We'll be right back. Game on! Welcome. You are watching Game On, and now I'm not starting with David, because again he'll try to justify there are 9 Englishmen and 2.
4. My apologies, I thought 5. No, 4.
Fine.
4.
Who's the 5th one now?
There's half a Morgan, there's half a Jordan.
So, coming on to today, if you want to say something about, because what we learned, that even the umpire, when he gives any batsman out and points the finger, it's towards the heavens, and he solemnly confesses that to the best of his abilities, he pledges that this is a fair decision. And then we also we read CLR James, we saw a turmoil when top West Indian colored players, they were asked to play under mediocrity and the white captains. And then Sir Frank Worrell was the one who actually, came on the scene and led the team to Australia in 1960-61, and it changed it around for the West Indies.
I think, Doc, if you see the situation,
Yeah.
still the same.
Okay.
India-Pakistan situation,
Yeah.
the government policies are really harsh.
Yeah.
And if you ask the players, they still wanted to play.
You're talking about the South African government. When
Yeah,
it comes to cricket, South Africa, you have to clarify when it comes
Everywhere. I mean, what's going on in Afghanistan,
Yeah.
what's going on in South Africa.
Yeah.
I think they, where they get it wrong. Okay, they wanted, the colored people to elevate to the
Obviously, they wanted
So
that
why
the
can't
sense of
they
equality should prevail.
start with, playing for colored players
Yeah.
in their first class teams.
Okay.
Okay, and then it's up to the performance-based selection. When you imposing that 4 colored has to play
Yeah,
in your
for
national
South Africa,
team,
yeah.
then it's like this is like the people
It leaves
around
the
the
combination
world
imbalance. This is what you want.
doesn't want to see and support your policies. They want to see the best of the best game,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
isn't it?
Yeah, this is fair. This is fair. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, your national team represents the philosophy, the political narrative, and your country. So probably what has transpired at the back end in this history of South Africa, this was the reason that they came up with the quota system, because they wanted that sense of equality to prevail, and the colored people actually to be rehabilitated, brought to the mainstream, and allowed them to compete with the best of the best.
And it has
So
to
again,
be,
there is
it has
another
to be
view.
the best of the best.
Yeah. So Mahaya,
Equal opportunity
Mahaya Antony.
at the domestic level,
No,
where
but Akib-
there is an opportunity for everyone to perform and
Yeah, but
elevate.
Akib, to be fair, okay, Umar Henry may not have deserved to be part of the South Africa team. He played Test match cricket fine, done. But if you see Mahaya Antony, you see Kagiso Rabada, no, they can walk into any
I'm
international
not
outfit.
criticizing
So-
criticizing
That's
that. I'm criticizing the policy.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
they've been. I mean, look.
I don't
Rabada-
want any more controversies.
Okay, so let's talk about England. And
No, I want to
And
help you.
Bangladesh.
I want ladies' view.
Okay.
Okay, Sana, if I correlate with what we saw with the women cricket, not only in Pakistan but in many places, where the girls, because of the social values or whatever, they were not like free to go play, participate, even in our own country. And then this culture started to evolve. And why we, like, telling you on your face why we respect you and many of your contemporaries is that you were the torchbearers and you broke these shackles. And now women cricket in Pakistan is coming up. It has its own teething problems. So can you correlate with what Sir Viv was saying before we went to the break?
I could totally relate to what Sir Viv was mentioning about the positives of a black team going and beating their
South
white
Africa.
counterparts, because I remember the first time it clicked that we are not represented in the sports field was when I was 8 or 9 year old, and I was in a school function, and we were holding posters of sports people on the stage. So when I looked around, there were 8 boys around me, and all the posters that we were holding were men. So there was no female role model for us. And I was a very sporty person from the start, and I thought that this is a vacuum. Why can't we play sport also? So from there, I started playing with my brothers, with my cousins, and that was the area that I wanted to fill. And once I was the only girl when we used to play on the streets and the teams, all of those places. But once we were able to come to the national side, a lot of people could see that if she can do it, I can do it. And then we slowly and gradually became role models. And then again it happened, being from a Muslim country, representing as also your faith, because a lot of people want to separate the two, that if you are practicing Islam, that you might not be able to do that. So we were able to be that example also. So we saw Bangladesh becoming quite a good force in women's cricket, and then whenever we would go to other countries, people would come, young girls would come and relate to us.
And that's
So I could see that how having something, witnessing it with your own eyes, what kind of impact it has.
Yeah, well, David, you were initially hired as an expert. You were invited as an expert, and probably you may well have to transform into a host, not a co-host. So would you mind winding this topic up so we move on to today's matches?
Doctor, you have control of the chair.
Okay.
You are the chair.
So now, if you want to wind it up, because wave and obviously loads of emotions are involved, you know, personal. There are personal examples, there are personal stories. So how do you see it all?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you talk to Sana as well,
Yeah.
because there are many issues in this complicated world
Yeah.
which may never ever be solved entirely to everyone's satisfaction. Which is why when you have a sport, or sport in general, so cricket on this occasion, where the ethos has always been to try and bring people together. So this is why actually it's quite a good, just looking at this calm and relaxed studio today, you know, we have representatives of different parts of society, and we can sit here happily discussing these things without coming to blows, without losing our tempers. And that is, you know, that is how it should be, how it can be, how it should be. And then, you know, okay, then we can focus on the sport itself, because we are in a sports program where there are two important games, because we talk about England, Bangladesh,
Yeah.
for Scotland, Namibia.
Yeah.
You know, there is national pride at stake for both those countries as well. They have their issues,
Yeah.
and they want to back themselves as a sporting team,
Brilliant.
as
Yeah.
a national team, and that actually is a big clash, because they know they are the two lesser teams in this group.
So I'm supporting
bragging right-
Namibia. You know the reason?
Namibia is not bad at all with David Wiese and
David Visa, my brother.
Craig Williams. David Wiese played for Lahore
He's
Qalandars.
Kalanda. He's Kalanda. So
I'll tell you something, and he brings energy, huh?
Yeah.
yeah,
Hypo.
great
Yeah,
character.
very
Everyone, when everyone goes down, he walks in,
yeah.
bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
I mean, he won us like
Couple of-
every
yeah.
season one special
Match.
match. So he's got great
Then
temperament.
they have a very good captain, and he's a very competent all-rounder, Jared Erasmus. They
Yeah.
have Craig Williams. So they have quite a few players, those who can really leave an impact.
Was David originally born South African? Or is he was born in
There must be the term which you use, the great
or maybe
father.
But he, if you can see the England team moving away from Namibia, and let's focus on the England
Maybe
squad.
that
David, it's David Malan, one of the finest T20 international batsmen, had an amazing run recently. Jason Roy not finding and looking a little out of sorts, and then Liam Livingstone, Moeen Ali, David Willey, Chris Vokes, Tom Curran, Johnny Bairstow, and then Sam Billings, Joss Butler, Chris Jordan. Tymel Mills, there is unlikely to play today because Mark Wood is like... he
Sure.
may- yeah. This is what I read.
I saw in the Times of London that Mark Wood is still suffering from the injection, or not suffering, still getting fit
yeah,
again.
But I read it in one of the websites, a credible website. They said that Mark Wood is likely to play.
Can I just warn you, Doctor?
Yeah.
Stay off the web, okay? For your own good, stay off the web.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, okay, we'll wait to see what happens to Stops. I mean, I thought, apart from anything else, I thought the other day Tymel Mills played a good part, and that's a good story in itself. His story after rehabilitation from injury, the struggle he's had to get himself fit and to get himself to this level.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. But if that squad you saw there, I mean, the team is unlikely to change, I would have thought. But if Mark Wood plays, fine. I have no problem with that. The man who is key, I think, is Joss Butler, because he's the man who's had a bit of a break, didn't go back for the second half of IPL. He's come to the UAE fresh, he's in good form. He's the sort of man with the shots that will deal with both Bangladeshi seamers and, more importantly, with the spinners. Johnny Bairstow's in quite good form. Livingstone, I mean, Moeen Ali's in good form. So, I mean, the good news is they've got important people either at or very near the top of the order who can do damage if they get it right. There's always that big if you get it right. The interesting one will be Livingstone, because if he has a good day, wherever he is, that ball can go a long, long way. He's one of these big strikers of the ball that is part of the modern game. And back home in the UK this summer in the 100, he was spectacular. So this is a big chance for him to learn more about the game at international level and against a side like Bangladesh on a UAE pitch. That's these are the challenges that we or stroke they have to deal with.
All right. So we've, like David mentioned, Josh Butler, even Jason Roy. Now we have seen that England, they have virtually transformed their method of play. In your times, you used to come across more tenacious, workmanlike, orthodox, technically correct English players. Other than David, because David always had a natural flair, and Ian Botham to some extent. That he also.
So what are you saying, that I was technically organized?
You were a genius. So please don't make yourself an example. We call it openly, and it's not a secret that people like you, Sagar Fesovas, Don Bradmans, they just come once in a lifetime. But now, does it make you happy to see that even England, they have just turned it around?
Listen, England, in my opinion, I've always felt England have always put out a very good team. Just recently, I think they would have been successful winning the ODIs. And I felt they should have had success long before that, because the teams that they have put out, quality, and it's always been a team, in my opinion, that bats long.
Yeah.
And when you have a team, especially with the all-arounders that sometimes you possess, you expect great things from that particular team. But England have always, in my opinion, put out good teams, but underachieved, which have underachieved. Would that be fair?
In general terms.
Yeah,
In general
yeah.
terms. The closest we came in my time, so which is based in the same sort of era.
Prudential Cup.
Yeah, the World Cup. This
finally
as it
played
were, the
in
proper
the
World
final.
Cup. We were semi-finalists. We final in '79 where we got well beaten by West Indies, but we kind of expected that.
I remember one thing, sorry for the interjection, that probably there were reports that Clive may well have deliberately dropped Mike Brealey's catch.
No, that wasn't Mike Brealey.
Yeah.
That happened to be Jeff Boyd.
Jeffrey Boyd.
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Boyd.
Jeffrey Boyd,
And
yeah.
funny enough, I can remember that whole story
Yeah.
because I was the bowler.
Yeah.
And I put up my little Mickey Mouse stuff. And if you ever speak to Jeffrey Boyd, any little off spinner, you always felt that was Mickey Mouse stuff.
Yeah.
He even said at times that even his grandmother would be able to play that.
He's used that line
Used
for
that
about
line
70
many
years
times.
now. Yeah.
And I remember I chucked this thing up and he chipped it to Clive. And Clive sort of stretched and dropped it. And I'm angry. And I'm looking up, even up at my skipper, and I'm saying, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And Clive looked up at me and he just winked his eye. I sort of got the message quickly. The longer he stays here, the better it would be for us.
Well, he wasn't wrong. Anyway.
and he failed miserably in that World Cup final. He scored-
Let's focus on it.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the real things.
But not now, but we will discuss, because I saw one of the documentaries and I even went and saw that gentleman, Collis King. We will also like to talk about such cricketers, those who became enigmatic because of many other distractions in life. And I think probably Collis King was one of the finer all-rounders from West
I wouldn't
Indies.
say he is one of the fine.
No,
he,
not fine.
he bowled a little
Yeah.
seam up and wasn't that consistent with the bat.
Okay.
But when he got going, he's one of his individuals. See ball, hit ball. And in that particular final in itself, I can remember,
He got about 85, yeah.
I was waiting for someone to actually give me some sort of security that everything was going to be all right. And Collis just came and smacked it to all parts of the ground, which was of great relief to me. When he got out, I think he got out in the 80s. Then after, I would have seen so much. I think it was a bit of teamwork between him and myself. There wasn't any competition or anything like that against one another. But just to continue the job, which he would have tried to finish the job that he would have started. But it was a magnificent knocky play. He just hit it to all parts of the ground, which was of great relief for me. at the other end.
Yeah, and we will not forget that last ball flick over fine leg for us.
Just short boundary again.
Like
you see.
hand a short boundary.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you could see
It's
the
like playing
Bangladesh,
shark.
Yeah.
if you could see the Bangladesh squad. So we had Mahmudullah, the captain, and Shoaib Sarkar, who played the first match in the qualifiers and then was replaced by Mohammad Naeem Sheikh, who is in good form. Shakib Hassan, world's finest T20 all-rounder. Afif Hussain, Mahdi Hassan Naras, Mohammad Saifuddin, Mushfiqur Rahim.
He's been replaced. Mohammad Saifuddin has been replaced by Rubul Hussain.
Okay.
He's got a back injury.
Okay, so Azhar Mahmood will not like this because he loves Mohammad Saifuddin.
I'm surprised that Rubel is always a better bowler than Saifuddin or anyone else.
So he's
It
now
should be.
So he's
in
now
the
back. He's
first
now back.
place.
Yeah, he's now back.
Yeah.
And we have Nurul Hassan.
So now they got the same sort of bowling attack which hurt England in 2015 in Australia.
Oh, David, this is
Dushkin,
Yeah, no,
Rubel.
but can I just say, in response, that those instances of pain and embarrassment to England
Yes.
are what drives someone like Owen Morgan forward. I mean, he
Yes.
was, again, talking about transformation, what Viv was talking about earlier. Owen Morgan was given that World Cup side in 2015. Wasn't his side. He was installed as captain at the last moment. They had a terrible time. He vowed to change that. And he has. So for the last 6-7 years now, he has built a 50-over side and now a 20-over side. He's built a culture which works, and which will be tested today. I mean, this is the thing. One thing I thought of earlier, he will not take anything for granted. Any stage of this tournament, however good that side looks on paper, he will have that message loud and clear to his players every day, today especially. You take nothing for granted.
And we saw that in the first match also. The way they were looking at the run rate from the first match, even though they were winning comfortably, but they changed the batting orders in order that they finished the match well. So I second that.
That's
So there-